Hello, and welcome to the Core Dog Experience. Here, talking Ohio State and college sports, bringing it to you from a fan's point of view. So if you're feeling what you're hearing, please hit that like button. And if you enjoy college talk or Ohio State talk in general from a different point of view, from a fan's point of view, please subscribe, help a brother grow this thing out. Now, for all the pleasantries out the way, let's get into it. Ohio State, Indiana. Ohio State's third top 5 matchup of the season. Indiana's first time matchup in program history. So how'd you think it was going to go? Let that sink in for a while, for a little bit. Ohio State, third one this season. Indiana's first one in program history. Think they had a little bit of jitters? Maybe not. Wouldn't be able to tell by that first drive they had. They had a good first drive, but Ohio State, not much after that. But Ohio State, they did what many thought on the Ohio State side thought they were going to do. Indiana was probably exposed by some, as they thought Indiana was, given their schedule leading up to the game. But we'll get in that. But at the end of the day, I thought I thought Indiana was going to present some problems. I said so. A few weeks ago, as the season was moving forward, I said Indiana might be a problem. And I felt that way pretty much until the Michigan game, where I thought Michigan exposed them a little bit. Michigan had the ball for a chance to win that game. At the end of the game, I said Indiana may not be what we thought they were. Some of those folks talking about that schedule might be on to a little some, because they had to sweat that game out against a Michigan team that we know for pretty much intents purposes has one-dimensional on offense. At least that's what they've shown to be this far. Very one-dimensional on offense, and we know Ohio State is anything but a one-dimensional offensive team. And Michigan gave them fits, in particular that second half. So coming into this game, I wasn't as concerned as I was a few weeks ago heading into this game, because I thought Indiana's passing game would present some problems to Ohio State. Turns out it didn't. Turns out much of anything Indiana didn't present much of a problem. But 38-15 result of scoring the game really wasn't that close, if you want to be honest. 31, however you want to draw it up. You want to discredit those last 2 touchdowns by both teams, fine. We can do that. It's still a blowout. Still wasn't as close as the final score would indicate. 38-15 Ohio State over Indiana, making it 30 in a row. I think that's a record between one opponent against another within the conference. 30 straight wins Ohio State has had over Indiana. So the odds are stacked against them anyway, given all that they've done, and they've had a great season. Can't take nothing away. The season had leading into the game, but I say after that Michigan game, my concerns were lessened quite a bit. And given the way Ohio State's defense has played leading into the game, lessened my concerns quite a bit. And the game played out. I thought I sort of expected it to. Ryan Day, he asked for a bunch of noise, and the crowd showed up, leading to some of Indiana's problems during the game. But the game played out like I thought it was going to play out. It was funny because listening to some of the folks leading into the game, we had a lot of people, analysts, experts, picking Indiana, which I guess, if you want to call it understandable, I guess. But some of the reasoning, to me, I thought was just funny. They cherry pick what they wanted to look at. A lot of folks that picked Indiana leading into this game They referenced the Nebraska game. Gotta look at common opponents, and we know what Indiana did in Nebraska, and we know how Ohio State struggled against Nebraska. But that's the only game they seen to factor into it when they were predicting Indiana to win. Indiana blew out Nebraska. Ohio State struggled mightily with Nebraska. Needed a late game, last drive interception to conserve the victory over Nebraska. Fine, I'll give you that. You want to do that? You expert want to look at that one game to make your picks. Fine, but a lot of them chose that one Nebraska game out of all the totality of the games that have been played by Indiana, Ohio State. That's the one game they chose to look at when making their final decision on who. And not to cover the spread. A lot of them picked Indiana to win outright. But see, it's dangerous when you picking teams based on that. Given these are a lot of young men and their emotions and stuff change from week to week to week to week. Especially given how Ohio State has played since that Nebraska game. Like I said, haven't given them no, especially the defense, haven't given them no offensive touchdowns against, how many quarters did it go? Almost 2 games without getting up an offensive TD. So the defense was playing on point, and it carried over into this game. Save for the first drive where Indiana pretty much went down the field, albeit aided by some ignominious penalties. Grabby, I call him Grabby at this point because I said, if you listen to my stuff, listen to some of my previous stuff, I said he might have one, probably going to have 2 holding pass interference calls before it's all said and done in this game. Turns out when it's all said and done, he had 3. He got 2 of them out the way on the very first drive. But I knew he was going to get subbed. That's what he do. But he's a good. I don't know if I don't know. But he gonna grab you. He got the length. He good. I don't know why he feels he needs to do that. He's in position a lot of times. But he can't help but grab him. But I said he's gonna get at least 2 of them. Ended up with 3 for the game. But after that first drive, aided by Grabby, those PI calls, Indiana ain't do nothing pretty much for the rest of the game. Literally, they didn't do nothing for the rest of the game. That passing attack that I was kind of sort of worried about was pretty much non-existent. Indiana couldn't do nothing offensively. Like some of it had to do with the noise, the crowd noise. And listening in, outside of the Michigan games, our home is not the most intimidating given the size of the stadium. You think it'd be a lot more intimidating, but fans go there, they're expecting us to win. But they had a little bit of extra for Indiana, given some of the stuff that was said leading into the game, some of the previous comments said by certain members of the opposition. So they're going to be extra loud. And it was you could tell just watching in. It was a loud stadium, and Kurt, he admitted it. He said that was a very difficult atmosphere to play in. Made stuff difficult for the offense. Besides the defense making stuff difficult for the offense. But that first drive, they went right down the field. Typical slow start for Ohio State. Some would say this has been, for some it's been problematic all year. If you want to call it a problem, fine. It reared its head again. Ohio State pretty much goes 3 and out. Indiana gets the ball in their first possession, go down the field and score. Albeit 2 penalties by Grabby Ignosa. They go down and score. 70 yards that first opening drive, 15-20 of it in penalties. But hey, they got off to an excellent start. Coming in underdog, being an underdog, that's the type of start you want to get off to. Your defense gets a 3 and out. Offense goes right down the field and score. Ohio State, they get the ball back as they've done pretty much all season. A team scores. Ohio State has typically gone right back down and scored a touchdown. And they were doing it again. Seemed like they were on their way. Score. We get that touchdown. Then they had those 2 monster penalties. Next thing you know, looking up, and it's 3rd and third and fourth and third and forever. Third and 35. Two Carnell Tate completions later, they're right there on the goal line, and daggone it, we couldn't punch it in. Why don't you do the tush push? Some of the folks were saying, why don't Will Howard just do a quarterback sneak? Hindsight's after all that, they've been the best red zone offense all season. You would have thought they would have been able to punch it in, but they didn't. Props to Indiana, they held their ground. They did what they needed to do. Again, excellent start for Indiana. Somewhat slow, sluggish start for Ohio State, which we've become accustomed to in some of these first quarters. And the rest of the first half played out that way. Traded some interceptions, some turnovers, the fumble by the Indiana quarterback working, and then of course the interception by Will Howard. Wasn't his fault. You know, Jelani, he bobbled the ball. Led to an interception. And we're gonna talk about Will a little bit more, but so that was pretty much kept the game close in the first half. Ohio State was moving the ball up and down the field. Indiana made some timely stops when they needed to. Ohio State gets out of there, 14-7 halftime lead, and right then and there, I knew the game was pretty much over. But if anything, we all know, given their sluggish starts, Ohio State has been a great second half team. Whatever they do in that locker room during the halftime, they make the adjustments. They fix some stuff up. We gonna dial some stuff up differently. They came out and they dominated pretty much. Pretty much ever since Indiana's first drive. Ohio State's defense definitely dominated, but they just dominated the rest of the game. They said they gave up 70 yards on that first drive. I think they gave up 70 the rest of the game. Basically, they gave 70 yards the rest of the game following Indiana's first drive. And again, the defense has been on point since that Oregon game. They brought it up several times throughout the broadcast. Since that Oregon game, it's just been a different style of defense. Since that Oregon game where Nick Saban called out the defense, they just been playing on a different. They've been playing on a different level ever since then, and it came up again during this game. They are just on a different level. They got to that quarterback time and time again. And say what you want about Indiana's schedule, this is the team that was putting over 400 yards of offense a game, scoring over 40 points a game. Competition aside, I don't care. That's impressive numbers. Ohio State defense shut them down. Period. Like I said, Michigan exposed them some a little last week. Ohio State took it to another level than what they did to Indiana. And of course they got to keep playing like that, obviously. But since that Oregon game, Ohio State has been on point. And that's just the defense again. Let's just highlight the defense. They've been getting criticized for not getting the sacks, for coming back and not performing up to some people's standards. But in this game, they let it all out. You've seen the stunts, you've seen the loops, you've seen the line schemes that Jim Knowles is throwing out there. And in the quarterback, he had literally no time to throw the ball. Every time he dropped back, he got sacked. They could run the ball. Kurt admitted that we probably should have ran the ball a little bit more because every time we tried drop back to pass, their quarterback was getting sacked, which led to their yardage total at the end of the game. What they ended up with 150-something yards total, about 300 yards below their average for the season. almost 20-some points below their scoring average for the season. Ohio State dominated loops, stunts, blitzes. They harassed that dude all day long. 5 sacks, 1 forced turnover, 8 tackles for loss. Given I said I was scared because of the passing offense Indiana presented. Penn State, I sort of expected we could do that against Penn State because they didn't pose the passing threat that I thought Indiana would pose. Comes to find out, Indiana didn't have a passing threat either because they couldn't get back. They couldn't really throw the ball They didn't have options. Like I said, they drove down the field the first time and they found some open avenues. And I was like, oh man, it's going to be a long game. They don't change something, it's going to be a long game because they had some receivers running open on that first drive. But after that, Jim Knowles said, enough of that. This is what we going to do, and they shut them down. Heading into the fourth quarter, about 8 minutes left to go, they had 6 completions. Not 6 completions to receivers, 6 completions total for 80-something yards. That's how dominant the defense was. You only give up 6 completions to a passing offense. And make no mistake about it, Indiana's a passing offense. They like to throw the ball. They just couldn't. The defense was extra level in that game. Extra level. And I don't know if they picked something up from that Michigan game. They incorporated some of the stuff from that Michigan game with Indiana. I don't know. But whatever they did, it worked, and they need to bring it with them next week for the big one. But we going to get there. So, but the defense was on point. Again, the special teams. 3 weeks in a row now, our special teams have been on point. If not the punt blocks, we give them the missed snap. Okay, that's fine and dandy. Who knows? He would have got it off. Caleb might have had 2 returns for TD. Because he botched the snap on the one thing that gave Ohio State a short field. But on the second punt, he probably wish he would have botched it again because Caleb pretty much went untouched on that touchdown punt return that Ted Ginn called. Did y'all see that? He called it. Props to Ted Ginn. He called the punt return for a TD. Said, we're going to take it to the house. And lo and behold, started that third quarter. Indiana, our defense stuffs them again, makes some punt. Caleb takes it with 79, 80 yards to the house. And that was pretty much ball game. Because given how Indiana was unable to move the ball in the first half, did you have any really hope or fear they'd be able to do in the second half, given how Ohio State has played in the second half for the majority of the season? This is third quarters where typically Ohio State has blown people out, and in the Indiana game was no different. Defense, special teams did their stuff. Dude dropped the snap right in his hands. Fine, it was slick, raining, drizzling, or whatever it was. It can't take too much credit. He just dropped the snap. But the punt return, yeah, that's all Ohio State there. Blocking, they set up the blocks. Good punt return, good angles. Boom. And that pretty much blew the game open. And the offense really didn't have that much to do. The one thing they had to do was punch it in on the goal line. They didn't do it. Fine. On the one thing. But other than that, I think they were pretty much, that's the only red zone trip they didn't score in was the goal line stand and then maybe the interception. So they had the 2 red zone things where they came empty-handed. But everyone after that, they punched it in. They said Will Howard, again, had an efficient day. The offense in general didn't do nothing special because they didn't have to. They were playing much. They had the 2 long drives, one of them the touchdown. They had 2 long drives, 2 of them in the touchdowns, and they had the goal line stands, but they had 1 long drive in the first half, 1 long drive in the second half, and that was pretty much all they had to do because they were playing with short fields all day long because our defense was just so stifling. Some folks, that's like when people don't want to acknowledge that when they talked about the game, some of the post-game comments about Ohio State's offense. Yeah, it was nothing special. They only got, I heard one of the analysts on one of these panels say, well, they only got 375 yards, so it wasn't all. It ain't like Ohio State did anything. It was like, did y'all actually watch the game? The offense didn't really have to do. They were playing with short field. They had a punt return. What do you expect? If they got scored, I don't know. That's some of the stuff. And reason behind it, I don't know why they don't want to give Ohio State credit. Yeah, one dude actually say Indiana lost it. Indiana gifted the game to Ohio State. Ohio State only had 300-something yards of offense. Well. Just got to shake your head on some of the stuff. Just got to shake your head. But no, Offense did what the offense needed to do given how the defense played and how the special teams played, who, by the way, is part of the game. You got to discredit 14 of those points called special teams. Well, special teams part of the game. Last I checked, teams practice defense, they practice offense, and they practice special teams because you know what? Those points count too. You can't, what do we actually say? You take away those special teams thing, Ohio State only won 17-15. I like, bruh, come on, man. Special teams is part of the game. If it wasn't, then why are we doing them? You can't, you can't take it out because it happened. It always cracks me up when they say, well, take away that interception. No, you can't take it as part of the game. They practice that. They practice punt returns, The only thing I'll give you is the homeboy drop the snap. Out of that, they practice punt returns. They pick Caleb Downs down there, particularly because they wanted something like this in the punt return game. But no, the offense wasn't special. Will Howard, he did his thing. We're going to get to Caleb in that punt return just a little bit more, but Will Howard, before I move on to that, all this dude does is complete passes. Is he fancy? Is he doing all the Cam Ward stuff? Is he all got the Shedeur Sanders name? No, but he is efficient. He wins games. Yeah, he may have one bad. I ain't gonna put this interception on him. Thurman, as he's done from time to time, didn't make a clean catch. It popped up, they intercepted it. But, INT goes towards Will Clark's stats. But the dude completed over 80% of his passes, accounted for 3 TDs. And we're going to talk about that last one too, but he accounted for 3 TDs. You pit his numbers up against any other quarterback that's in the conversation, why ain't he getting more run? Now, I know he ain't going to win it. And a quarterback shouldn't win it this year. Let's just get that straight. Not because I know they like giving these things to quarterback, but a quarterback should not win it this year. It should go to Hunter, who I believe is the lead, or it should go to Gentry, the Boise State running back. But if you're going to talk about quarterbacks and want to throw a quarterback into that mix, for some reason, they love Dylan Gabriel, but Gabriel's numbers are no better than Will Howard's. They love Jackson Dart. We'll see what he's going to do later on, but they love him. And then they love Cam Ward. The Miami Corp, who has to win because they ain't got a defense. But I'll take Will Howard over any one of those dudes, and his numbers stack up against theirs, but he gets no Heisman love. Is he going to win it? No. Should he win it? No. But should he be in New York if they extend it to quarterbacks? He should be in the conversation with these quarterbacks. That's all I'm saying. He should be in the conversation with these other quarterbacks that are in the conversation, because no quarterback should win it. Not this year. It's Travis Hunter's to lose because he plays offense. Because he plays offense and defense, and he does it well. If you ain't gonna give it to Travis, then it's Gentry who should win it. Cause most backs that once they eclipse that 2,000-yard mark, they win it. Most of them. But this is just one of those years I think Travis Hunter is the best player because he does it offensively, defensively. The dude rarely comes off the field, and he's good at both positions. Give it to Travis. Call it a day. I ain't got a problem with that. But Will Howard should be mentioned when these quarterbacks are mentioned. Offensively, before we move on, the O-line needs to be talked about. As much as we talk about our O-line, as much as we talk about Justin Fry, the O-line took another big hit. And that was probably the one position we really couldn't lose. It was left tackle and center, and both of those spots got hit this year. And Justin Fry, to his credit, he's filled in the gaps. He's made the right moves. And you hate to see it happen the way it did, but in hindsight, good thing Carson got on the field. Regardless of how he got on the field, Carson got on the field at the guard position, got a little bit of confidence back, got some experience back. So then when Seth went down, as unfortunate as it was a seamless transition because now Carson is back in the fold. His head, I don't think his head, according to he never left the game. His head was always in the game. That's what I'm trying to say here. He never got down on himself after Seth came in. They worked with one another. And when his number got called to go back to center, he stepped in and he played well. And again, you hate to see injuries, but you hate to see injuries, period. But if it was going to happen, good thing it happened leading into this game as opposed to happening this week and trying to break somebody in for the Michigan game. You got to find the silver linings where you can. And in this situation, it was a silver lining. If it had to happen, good thing it happened this week when it did, because now not only could you move Carson over, they got a little bit of practice time and got a couple days practice in to get the new offensive line gel back up to see how they were going to do. And I thought they did quite well in this Indiana game, because Indiana has a good defense. I don't care. Take the competition. They had a good defense. All right, good defense. The offensive line held up. Thought could they have done more in the running game? Yeah, probably. The goal line stand, they got stuff, but that may have been a lack of creativity or more so on Ohio State's part than what Indiana did. So we give it to them. But in the passing game, Will Howard had clean pockets. He had clean pockets all day long to sit back there and do what he needed to do. Getting new offensive line, new center. Because granted, Carson started last year, but that was with Kyle McCord. Now he got Will Howard. Got to get used to that. But good thing he did play, because he's familiar with the line pickups, the line calls, and it seemed like a seamless transition. So I'm going to get the offensive line credit in general. No false starts that I can recall, no holding penalties that I can recall. And it was a good thing, and it was a good thing they were able to get some stuff in, some real game time action against a live defense like Indiana's, because they're going to need to perform again against Michigan, who's going to have, it's probably going to be the best defensive line we see this year. So there was the silver lining in all the bad news. It was good it happened this week to give that group of guys a chance to be on the field, get a full game's worth in, and get ready for Michigan. Only thing, but defense stepped up. Again, the special teams stepped up, and it's funny when getting back to the special teams and some of that punting stuff. When I first saw Caleb, they said they were going to do this year to try to get Caleb involved a little more. They said they may try to get him in offensively, but look, where you going to plug him in at? It's ain't a Travis Hunter, Colorado situation where they probably need Travis over there. You know, Colorado probably needs him over there for whatever reason. Well, they ain't got the peeps we got. They got some good receivers, don't get me wrong, but they ain't got Jeremiah, they ain't got Carnell, they ain't got Emeka, they ain't got Brandon, they ain't got a lot of stuff that Travis fills in for. You don't need Caleb for that. You don't even need him in the backfield, because you know what Colorado also don't have? They ain't got Trevion. And they ain't got Pushan. So we really don't need Caleb offensively like they tease. They might do some to get them involved a little bit more offensively. So what's the next best thing? If you really don't have a spot for him in the offense, put him back there and let him return some punts here and there. And the fans were mad when they saw Caleb back there the first time and he took the hit. Oh my God, why is Caleb? Why is he returning punts? And boom, lo and behold, he took it back. And of course, as soon as he said that, social media lit that person up. That's why he returning punts. He can do that. Should have been doing it all year. Not to take nothing away from Brandon, but Caleb, like Jeremiah, he's just a different breed back there. I would have had him returning punts more often, but he took it to the house. The first punt return since, lo and behold, Indiana 10 years ago, Jalen Marshall did it. I didn't know it had been that long. It was 10 years, and since our last punt return against Indiana, and to his credit, Ted Ginn called it out. The master of punt returns and special teams touchdowns. Ted Ginn called it out, but at the end of the day, Ohio State dominated another top 5 matchup. They did. In these type of big games, you do stuff like that. That's why you pick Caleb Downs back there for a punt. Now you give Michigan something to think about. Caleb might be returning punts against y'all. Be ready for it. Be ready for it. You know, just stuff to throw out there. Stuff to throw out there for to get ready for the game. You know, they probably wanted to hold some stuff back. They probably didn't want to do as much stuff they did defensively as they did. But like I said, Indiana came in for a vaunted passing attack. They probably wanted to say some of that stuff for Michigan, but we know Michigan don't really throw. But we know Michigan going to try to switch it up now. They're going to try to switch it because they know it's going to be hard pressed for them to win as just a one-dimensional team. But the Ohio State did what they needed to do. Went in there, beat Indiana, held them in check for pretty much the whole game. Indiana, again, scored on the first drive of the thing. Then, of course, in garbage time, basically, they scored in that fourth quarter. But they were on lockdown in between. They scored the touchdown, went for 2. Then going to kick an onside kick. You know, they did. So in my mind, they trying to come back. They still fighting. They still want to win this game. So, you know, we covered the onside kick. Trevion break the run. And he does the classy thing. I ain't mad at, well, I am. He should have just scored. Let's face it. He should have just scored. But he did a classy thing. I appreciate what he was trying to do by taking that slide down at the 1-yard line. Another thing we're sliding may not have been the best interest of Ohio State. We 0 for 2 for slide, but I appreciate what Trevion was trying to do on that slide. But Ryan Day was like, nah, dog. We gonna punch this one in. Hey, you know what? I ain't mad at him. You go score a touchdown, go for 2, kick an onside kick. You ain't following up no red flag or what. He ain't calling no timeouts, this, that, and that. I don't care. That's one of my things about Ryan Day. When he got up in previous years, he take his foot off the pedal. We bring in the backups and run three running plays right up the middle. I'm so glad he scored. And then given the stuff my boy's been saying for almost a year, I'm glad he did it. Like I said, Kurt, Signetti, he a brash dude. But if you're gonna talk that stuff, be prepared. So some of the repercussions and consequences. And Ryan Day was like, remember when you said we sucked? And I know he did that at a pep rally. He's trying to do his Jim Tressel thing at an Indiana pep rally. But with this time last year when he got first hired, I understand what he was trying to do. He's trying to do that was his attempt to be like Jim Tressel. But the way he did it, and the way Tressel did it was like on 2 different levels. He was classy in how he did it. He said, "You're gonna be proud of our men on that field in 100 some days up in Ann Arbor." That's all. That's how you do that. He ain't throw shade at Michigan. He ain't throw shade at nobody. He ain't call nobody out. He said, "You're gonna be proud of us this time next year when we go play Michigan. You're gonna be proud." That's how you do it. How does Signetti do it? Yo, you want to call out Purdue and say they suck? Fine, that's your bitter rival. I sort of get it. Still wasn't the classiest thing to do, you know. It wasn't very Tressel-like, but then he gonna go on and say Michigan and Ohio State suck. Like, why? Why? Like I said, you ain't beat Ohio State. Indiana has not beat Ohio State in 29 attempts. Why are you gonna call them out for no reason? I mean, you had no reason to do that. Stick with Purdue and let it go. You're not Jim Tressel. You don't think that's why I love college stuff. You don't think college folks are gonna remember that? We remember that stuff. So no, I was not upset with Ryan Day. As Ryan Day's been wanting to do over these last few years. He gonna let his emotions know. Remember the Lou Holt stuff? He gonna let folks know. So no, I'm not surprised at all that he punched it in afterwards. Other folks may have been. Indiana folks may have been. Some folks who don't like Ohio State to begin with may have been. But in general, Ohio State fans were cool with it. We were cool with it. You know, you go talk shit. Be scared. Don't say nothing when shit get thrown back at you. That's all. Ryan Day got asked about it. It's like, hey, we playing. We playing. We playing. This is how you play football. We just playing football. You know, that's how you play football. We're here to play football. You know, you don't want them to score. Stop us from scoring. You know, like you said, Trey should have just taken it in, but he appreciated what Trevion was trying to do. But hey, it is what it is. You know, you gonna say we suck? All right. Google it. Well, you know, he got 2 of the 3 right. Maybe Michigan do suck. Maybe Purdue do suck. But hey, you got the third one wrong, dog. That's all Ryan Day was saying. We playing. We playing to win. In this day and age, you know, poor Ryan Day, damned if he do, damned if he don't. Ryan Day can't beat a top 5 team. You know, guy came out again after the Oregon game. He can't win these big time matchups. Beats Penn State. Oh well, that's James Franklin. He always beat James Franklin. he beat Indiana. Well, they a fraud anyway. They ain't do nothing. What Indiana do? It was like Big Ten against James Madison because, you know, he brought half his team from James Madison. So it was like playing the MAC team all of a sudden. They weren't saying that shit leading into the game, but after the game, oh, you playing JMU. You playing the MAC school. But a lot of these guys who picked Indiana to win, all of a sudden, oh, they should have won. They got all this NIL money. They should have won. Oh, but he can't win for losing. But they can't say that no more. Next time they pull up his record against top 5 teams or whatnot, it going to change a little bit. It's going to change a little bit. And don't let them beat Oregon. They got to get past me. Not trying to look ahead. They still have to beat Michigan. They don't beat Michigan, I think Penn State goes, however the tiebreaker thing. So Michigan is still a must win to get another crack at Oregon. So just don't want to jump too far ahead. But we know they're gonna be focused on Michigan. That shouldn't be an issue. But they're gonna get another crack at Oregon should they beat Michigan. But yeah, so he ran up the score. I seen everyone else complaining except Indiana's coach. To his credit, I haven't seen anything about him complaining about the last score, other than he's sad that his team gave it up. That's what he said. That was classy. If he was classy like that to begin with, maybe he was more like Tressel to begin with. Ryan Day ain't scoring. Maybe he do take a knee, but he want to be an asshole. Then, you know, Ryan Day say, all right then, you gonna go for 2, kick an onside kick. You ain't waving no wave. You're not waving away. You're not waving the white flag. You ain't giving up. You still trying to win. So we gonna crush that right here and there. But folks don't want to give Ohio State the credit for beating another top 5 team, called all of a sudden Indiana a fraud, even though a lot of those folks who call it Indiana a fraud and now don't deserve to be in there were picking Indiana to beat Ohio State. But now, since they got blown out essentially, they shouldn't have been there to begin with. Can't have both ways. You beat a top 5 team, cause the polls say they're a top 5 team. Give a man his credit for beating 2 top 5 teams, winning a big game when y'all said he couldn't do it. He did it twice this year. Might have a chance to do it again should he get another crack at Oregon. on a neutral field. So we'll see how that plays out. And he's going to get a crack in the playoffs should he beat Michigan, because they go into the playoffs if they beat Michigan, regardless of what happened in the Big Ten championship game. I'm just saying. So maybe next time, he'll keep it. Kurt will Signetti. He has to be that way though. It's Indiana. He's trying to build a program, but just careful who you call out. And, cause folks are gonna remember that. The coach gonna remember it. The folks that work the billboards, they gonna remember it inside the stadium. I love this. Like I said, this is what college football is about. Google it. Buckeyes win. That's what college football is about. I love it. I love it. It might be a new budding rivalry. We'll see how Indiana grows. Who knows? Who knows? We might have a Google it trophy or some whatever trophy. All you see got these trophies. Might be a new trophy we can develop for this game. But Curry, he was classy in defeat. He acknowledged the Ohio State noise, the stadium noise. They thought they were prepared for it. They weren't. He said the good undefeated season was good, but some things come to an end. The undefeated season came to an end. Now they got to get ready for Purdue. And unlike some folks, I do believe they belong in the playoffs. 11-1, 11-1, and it's not like they've been playing these lesser teams and been squeaking by them. If that was the case where they were just squeaking by them, I could get some of these arguments. But they've been blowing them out. Save Michigan, they've blown everyone out. And before Michigan State, they hadn't trailed in a game, period. I think the minutes they trailed in this game with Ohio State equals the amount of minutes they've trailed all season long. So I ain't mad at them at all. I think they deserve to go. Should they beat Purdue, which according to Nick Saban or somebody, everyone beats Purdue. So they shouldn't have no problem with Purdue because, Purdue sucks. So hopefully they show up against Purdue and stuff. But that was the game of the nation. It went pretty much like I thought it was going to go. And of course, at the end of it, whenever Gus and just wrap some of this stuff up here. Stuff I wanted to mention last time, but it sort of slipped my mind because every time Gus, some of the folks don't like when Gus Johnson calls Ohio State games because he always leaves with that phrase, world famous Ohio State. And it wasn't this game, it was the Northwestern game. I think he explained why he did that. And I'm glad he did because every time he says it, that's the first thing people say on social media. When it's Gus doing it, I turn it off because he always says world famous, yada, 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 yada. Of course, they Ohio State haters and stuff, but I always wondered where it came from. And so Joe asked him, why do you, not this game, obviously, but last game against Northwestern, he said, why do you say that? And he explained it. He said, it goes back to Jesse Owens and what he did in Germany during the Olympics. Jesse Owens put Ohio State on the map. Jesse Owens made Ohio State world famous. I respect Jesse Owens. So anytime I say Ohio State, I'm thinking of, when I say world famous Ohio State, I'm thinking of Jesse Owens when I say that. So I'm glad he explained that, and hopefully people can appreciate it more when he says world famous Ohio State. And that's where it's coming from because Jesse Owens put the Buckeyes on the map for the stuff he did back in the day. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But again, so Ohio State, I think they looking pretty. Regardless, I think they're in. Play 3 top 5 matchups. Won 2 of them. 1 loss on the road. So I think they're looking good. They need to beat Michigan. They want a shot at Oregon, but I think they're in. Either or, they're in. There will be a 2-loss team that'll be in, or they'll go in either as the Big Ten champion, or if they lose again to Oregon, they'll still be a 2-loss team, lost in the conference championship, and they lost twice to the number 1 team. So I think they're sitting pretty. They'll at least be in the field. That's the best way I can say that. As for Indiana, you're going to have folks who are going to want to knock them out of the playoffs for whatever reason. I think they're in. You're going to have the ESPN talking heads saying stuff about Indiana. Even the ones who are picking Indiana to win, because they would say the caveat, well, if they lose, they don't belong in. You can't have it both ways. You can't say they're going to beat Ohio State, but if they lose, they don't deserve to be in. Good news for them, though. Some of these SEC folks, talking heads, want to pit some of these other SEC teams in that have more losses. Florida, they just knocked off Ole Miss. As I'm doing this, so knocked off Ole Miss earlier today. So that's one of those teams they wanted to elevate. SEC, they beat Georgia. You know what? Ole Miss got 3 losses now, don't they? Don't they got 3 losses now? To Florida, a bad loss. Is Florida even bowl eligible yet? You know, you can't have all these 3 loss teams and say they deserve to be there when they're losing to unranked teams. It was just a matter of time. Ole Miss beat Georgia, but Ole Miss, they sort of like they do this every year. They hype up these Mississippi teams only for them to fall flat. And you beat Georgia and you come right back out and you lose to Florida, who's terrible this year. It's not Florida of yesteryear. This is a bad Florida team who got a little bit thing going. I'll give them that. But at the end of the day, they're a bad team. But they still want to try to justify Ole Miss possibly getting in there because they beat Georgia. I'm just be prepared for it. Be prepared for it, Big Ten fans. Be prepared for it. But I think that bodes well for Indiana to have Ole Miss lose, and hopefully some more SEC teams will lose. We'll see how the rest of the day plays out. But they playing unranked teams that they are playing, and you got a lot of these SEC teams. They playing FCS teams. And I get it. And it comes up every year because they do it. Obviously, they do it every year. But you think expanding their league, they would cut out these late FCS games and go to 9 conference games like everybody else. But no, they still going to play FCS level schools this time of the year. Beginning of the year, I get it. But in November, you playing FCS schools. And what's even funny, they ain't even playing good ones. They playing FCS schools with below 500 records. And we going to play one, at least play a good one. They playing FCS school that got 2-7 record, 3-7, 2-8 record. They play somebody good if you're going to do it. I don't know why they don't get penalized. They never get penalized for it. I don't know why other conferences don't do it. It's like SEC ain't going to get penalized for it. They always touting the toughest conference when they ain't. But I don't know. I don't get it. But this late in the year, you shouldn't be playing no FCS school. And if you're going to do it, at least play one for winning record. Oh, man. At least play one for winning record. Can we agree on that? At least y'all going to do it. Please play a good one. They play people at the bottom of an of their own FCS conference, and they going and have the nerve to have folks pay money for it. And then going to put their stats up there like it's something to be proud of. That's an FCS school. If you ain't blowing about 70-0, something wrong. That's all I'm saying. Especially if it's a bad one. All I'm saying. But this week has come and gone for Ohio State. They can now completely and solely focus on Michigan. Try to get something in for the Michigan game, a little pregame stuff, and see how that goes. So we'll try to tune in and see if I'm able to get something on that. But I do believe we are opening up as a 3-touchdown favorite, which actually might be steep. That might be steep. I'm just gonna be. It might be steep. It's Michigan. They still got a good defense, and we still, despite the experience our offensive line got today, which I think was great, it's going to be a challenge for offensive line. So we will see. Will Johnson, there's a chance he may or may not play. Reports I've heard, he's shut it down for the year, so we'll see if he's going to even be on the field. If he is, that would be good matchups, him against Jeremiah Smith and our receiving core. But if not, Michigan still brings a good defense. And they're going to try to switch some stuff up. They're going to try to throw the ball because they know we're going to be geared up to stop the run. And hopefully we can stop it this year. Because that's been our weakness against Michigan, is them being able to run the ball. So hopefully it won't be that way coming in to that game. So more lead up to that. But 3 open up as a 3-touchdown favorite and just got to win the game. If we get the opportunity to score a late touchdown and run it up, I hope he does. That's what a lot of folks are saying. If you're going to run it up this week, if you get the opportunity to run it up next week. But first and foremost, we got to secure the win. And once the win is secured, if we can run it up, take that opportunity to run it up. Like I said, some folks are just mad we ain't go for 2 like Indiana did after we scored. Brutal. That's brutal. Indiana. But top 5 matchup we won, so good. Before we move on here, again, I talk other sports, and we got some other teams talking about tournament time. Our soccer teams, both our men and women, are lighting it up. I believe our women are already into the 3rd round of the playoffs, so keep your eyes on them. And I do believe our men's soccer team, our first Big Ten regular season, Big Ten tournament championship over Michigan. I believe, by the way, they beat Michigan to win the Big Ten tournament championship. They're going into the soccer thing as the number 1 seed, so keep an eye out for them. And before we get out of here, talking about receivers, Mr. Hartline has done it again. He's done it again. The number 2 overall commit for the class of 2027. It's not a commitment. I call it more of an engagement for those that know me, because, it don't mean nothing until they get the ring on it. Once they get the ring on it, then I'm satisfied. Right now, commitments, they don't really mean nothing. So far, we engaged to the number 2 overall wide receiver from our very own hometown, Huber Heights, Ohio. Hopefully, he will stay in the class and get that ring on it and actually commit to Ohio State. But he's a 5-star, number 2 overall recruit for the wide receiver class. So again, Brian Hartline does it again. If he don't get recruited, is there a reward for recruiting genius? They said how much money his receivers are making in the NFL, and like Gus Johnson said, if you want to play receiver in the NFL, this is where you come. Ain't gonna be mad about the free publicity and free marketing. Take it where you can get it, but again, so congrats to that young man. Hopefully he will see his way on campus in a couple years. That said, please hit that like button if you have any comments about anything I said. The Indiana, should they drop completely out of the playoffs? Will Howard, is he a Heisman? Should he be in New York if they going to send some quarterbacks there? Defense, what do y'all think about the Michigan game? Is Indiana a fraud? Or are you part of that yeah but crowd? That yeah but they ain't really this, they ain't really that. Are you part of that crowd, or are you going to give Ohio State props for beating another top 5 team for Ryan Day? But just hit a brother up, try to reply to all comments. And again, it's Michigan week, y'all. It is Michigan week. Got to get ready for it. So again, until next time, OHIO, go Bucks. I'm out.